Hey, what's up and welcome. I am Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. This is my TypeScript course. In fact, it's a React TypeScript course. We are going to use Next.js to continue in this course. Why this course? The only thing and one and only thing that I want to help you with, I want to get you unstuck. What do I mean by unstuck? I want to remove all the red squiggly TypeScript line when you are coding Next.js. I used to have a lot of them, and it was something that I had to deal with it and see to it that I remove all the red line so that I can continue with the actual development. Okay, is TypeScript easy? To be honest, maybe for some other experienced developers TypeScript is easy, but for me it was very difficult, or it was a little bit tough. How did I get into TypeScript? Maybe this point will also hit into why do you have to learn TypeScript. To be honest, I didn't just think of learning TypeScript. As I've told you, it's frustrating. But I was offered the job employment, and the employer told me that you have to use TypeScript. That was my first front-end job. In the second front-end job, also I was told that you must use TypeScript. Things were better because I had to go through the initial phase of struggling with TypeScript. The good news is you don't really have to struggle with TypeScript. I am going to explain it in details so that you can quickly rush through the painful phase. Is TypeScript something that you have to learn? Yes, of course, it's something that you have to learn. As I have explained to you, I didn't want to learn it, but the employment demanded it. Don't you want to be better developers? Don't you want to get better salaries from our coding craft? Don't you want to become better people and have better experiences? Feed our families, take a vacation, buy yourself a nice car, buy your mother a home. We all want that. So think of it in that way. And you can only do that through TypeScript. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. I hope you are as excited as I am about this course. See you on the next one. Hey, what up and welcome. I am Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. Let's continue with our TypeScript course. If TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, isn't that important that we first understand JavaScript? I've got a very different way of understanding JavaScript. Maybe if you might talk to a professional JavaScript developer, they might say, I disagree with Matthew. That's not how you are supposed to understand JavaScript. But this way of viewing JavaScript made JavaScript very simple and easy for me to understand what that is. Okay, first step, don't treat JavaScript as a language. Treat JavaScript as an object itself. Don't say JavaScript programming language. Maybe you might miss the essence of JavaScript. The reason why, at least by now, I understand JavaScript is just this simple secret. I view JavaScript as an object. I'm going to draw a structure of an object, and I want you to test it in your own understanding of JavaScript or in your journey to understand JavaScript. You will find this structure of an object very important, and also it will play a fundamental role in understanding TypeScript. Without wasting time, let's just jump straight into it. In JavaScript, there is something called an object. Let me draw an example of an object. Let's say we've got, let's say it's courses object, let's say, let's say courses object. Okay, we've got a course object. Let me just change the color of my pen. Is this fine? Let me go for blue. Okay. Let's say we've got a courses object. Okay. Okay, this is how an object will look like in JavaScript. Okay, we will have a course name. We put this dot. Okay, and then the course name might be TypeScript. Okay, and then comma, and then let's say duration. Okay, obviously we are not sure how long this TypeScript course is going to be, but let's say for some reason it's going to take 24 hours. Let's just type here 24, and that's it for this object. Let's just close it. So this is just a simple object. Maybe you are familiar with it. Maybe you have seen it before. Maybe it's something that you feel like, Matthew, what's so special about this object? Understanding what this is and how it's structured and how it works, it will give you a very important and a fundamental basics of understanding a lot of things around JavaScript. Okay, so this is important for you to understand. Okay, let's get into details. Okay, this is an object, and then this object take a structure of a key / value pair. Okay, what does that mean? This is the key. This is the key, so as this one. And this string is the value. This is the key, and this is the value. As you get into understanding, or as you work with JavaScript, you will sooner realize that JavaScript revolves around this key value pair object, such that I am bold to say JavaScript is not a programming language, it's an object in itself. Let me just take you through things that you will understand better when you understand this key value pair. Okay, particularly in the concept of React. Let's talk about props in a function. Okay, let's say this is a function. I'm just going to put only the function. This function is get courses. Okay, just a random name. In React we've got props. Okay, props that we receive here in this function, and then we open and close this function. Okay, what you will notice in these props, this as a prop is nothing much than what? Than an object. Let me write that here. Okay, because we are saying JavaScript is an object. Let me make it big here. JavaScript is an object. It's not a programming language, it's not a scripting language, but it's an object. This will explain a lot of things when we continue with this course. It will also help you with your own understanding of JavaScript in general. Object, excuse my bad writing. Okay, let's continue. What are props? Okay, props are nothing much than an object. What do I mean by that? Okay, there is a key. Okay, there is a key and a value. Okay, let's say this value is going to be a string, and you will close the curly braces. If you've worked with JavaScript, with React, you will know that there is a key and a value. Even the props, they are the key and the value. Okay, let me just write somewhere else. Okay, this is just an introduction. I'm not going to mention a lot of places where the key and the value appears. I'm just going to give you an idea so that you can understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying if you don't understand an object, you might take time to understand JavaScript and even TypeScript. Okay, let's just continue. This was point number 1. Point number 2, when you are fetching data, okay, let me just say data fetching. When you are fetching data from the API, what do you get back? You get a JSON string. Okay, which is you get, let's say, a JSON string. Okay, or we can say, obviously, you will convert that JSON string to a JSON object. Okay, what is a JSON string? A JSON string is nothing much than this object. Okay, that JSON string you get from calling an API. Let's say you are getting a list of movies or getting a list of courses from the API. Remember, an API has been designed in such a way that it produces or it gives back a JSON string. You can take that JSON string in JavaScript and convert it to a native object. You can use PHP to query the same API and get the JSON string, maybe convert it to an array or an associative array in PHP. As you can see, it's just a string, but you need to convert it to a native equivalent, an array or an associative array, or a JSON object in case of JavaScript. Okay, so what does a JSON string look like? Let me draw again how it looks like. Okay, there will be a key here and there will be a value here. Okay, maybe there might be this, or maybe there might be this, or maybe let's say it can be toString. Okay, more or less something like this, but the overall idea, it's going to be a string. Okay, and that is it. Now we are on the second place where you are even dealing with this object. Okay, we are in the context of JavaScript. Now let's continue and see how far this goes. Okay, let me just write here styling in React. Okay, if we have a React element, let's say this is h1. Okay, this is h1. We will have to style this h1. Okay, style. This is more like similar to your normal HTML and styling, but obviously you have to see how it's being done here on React. Excuse me. We are going to have a style equal to, okay, let me change the color there. We are going to open the first curly bracket. This is the first one. We are writing a style. Okay, does this look familiar? It looks like an object. Okay, let me draw the second curly braces. Okay, and then from then we might say color, and then we will say the color is, let's say, blue. Okay, I'm taking this slow for a reason. Please be patient and bear with me. Let's work together. I'm trying to convince you that JavaScript is an object. Okay, now as you can see, if you take this part, let me just change. Okay, if you take this part, you can see it looks like what? It looks like an object. Now we are in styling, but in styling we encounter an object. Okay, let's go to TypeScript. Okay, TypeScript types. Okay, let's create an interface. Okay, we're going to say interface. I'm not going to write much about these things. Interface, I'm going to make it let me just write it. Okay, because somebody might be confused. Okay, interface, let's say button props. Okay, this is our interface. How do we declare an interface? We open curly braces. Okay, let me do it like this, and we'll close it here. Okay, and then somewhere in between, inside, we create our interface. Let's just create an interface for the previous object that we have created, which is the object of courses. Okay, in the previous screen we had a name, which was a course name. What type of a variable was name? It was a string. Okay, then comma, and then we had a duration. Okay, what type of the data was duration? It was a number. Okay, let's go back. What do you see? As you can see, this is an object. Okay, lastly, obviously there is a lot of things that we can go through here and give like countless example of objects appearing everywhere in JavaScript. Okay, but let me just do the last one. Okay, now we were creating, like we are on TypeScript types. So under this heading, we've got interfaces, also we've got types. Okay, we're creating a type in TypeScript. Let's say button prop again. Okay, so look at this. Button prop, this is how we declare it. Okay, close this, and then we are going to have the same thing like this one. We're going to have a name, okay, as a string, comma, and the duration as a number. Okay, now I'm hoping you can see that the object in JavaScript, it's a big thing. So if you understand how it has been structured, how do you use it, how do you access it, and how in the later stage do you manipulate it. But for the sake of this course, we just need to understand the structure of it. Understanding the structure will make your life easier. It doesn't matter if this object appears as a styling mechanism, or it has been used in data fetching, or it has been used in making types. But the more you get familiar with it and understand it through and through, JavaScript and TypeScript will be easier for you. I promise. Stick with me, I'll make you famous. I'll take you places to see different faces. Let's continue. Okay. Okay, let's continue, guys. So Now we understand that we've got an object. Okay, an object is very important in JavaScript. Okay, so now we know the structure of an object, but we are just going to write here a simple structure of an object. Okay, let's say const theme, okay, as the theme colors. Okay, I didn't want to do that. That's an accident, but that's not much of a problem. Okay, and then we say primary, which is a primary color, and then we say this is blue. Okay, and that's it. Let's close this. As you can see, this is an object. Okay, more often than not, you are going to use an array of objects. Okay, more often than not, you are going to use an array of objects. Okay, this is just a simple object. Okay, let me type here an array of objects. Okay, so how does an array of object looks like? Okay, it just simply means it's a list of objects put inside an array. I would like to assume you know what an array is. In case maybe you might forget, an array is something like this. This is the variable name or the array name, and then we open the square bracket. We have number 1 as a string, comma, number 2 and number 3 as strings. This is an array. So if we are having an array of object, it just simply means we are taking this and we are putting it in here. Instead, you just remove the string or the quotations. Okay, these quotation. Okay, so now let's just draw a structure of an array. Okay, an array of objects. Okay, it's going to be something like this. Okay, primary color, let's say red, close this curly brace, and then comma, let's say primary, let's say secondary, let's just say, or let's just say primary again. Okay, now let me make this clear. Okay, now let's say blue. Okay, and then we are going to wrap this in an array. Okay, at position 0 of this array, we've got this object. Okay, maybe it's a primary color for a button, let's say. Okay, and then here at position 1, we've got a different primary color. Okay, which is the primary color, it's blue. I hope you get the concept of an array of objects. Okay, so also this is some sort of a data, let me say a shape of data or a data structure that you sometimes get from fetching an API, even though you'll receive it as a string, but you might use it. Okay, so this understanding will help you, or this object or structure will always appear as we are talking, and what I like about it, it will always appear as it is. Whether it's in styling, whether it's in types, whether it's in props, but it will always appear like this. As much as this is a TypeScript course, but it was very important for us to understand what is important in JavaScript. So obviously you can go to Google and search, and also other YouTube videos, and understand about JavaScript object. But basically this is a JavaScript object. As we continue, you are going to see a lot of these structures. So when we are using these structures, I will always remind you this is an object. Okay, if I had a chance, I was just going to always play a bell, ding ding, so that I can remind you that this is the JavaScript object, so that you can see what I said in this video, that it's very important to understand the objects in JavaScript. As soon as you understand them, it will take you far. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. If you feel like this is adding value into your overall understanding of TypeScript, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. See you on the next one. Hey, what's up and welcome. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. This is a continuation of my TypeScript course. In this series, I am going to ban the concept of TypeScript in your brain, such that it's going to be easier for you to use TypeScript in React. We are taking things slow. In the previous video, I introduced a concept of thinking about JavaScript as an object, not as a programming language. This is what I meant by that. You will always see objects everywhere in JavaScript. So understanding how to create or how to declare an object, accessing it, and looping through an object is very important. So in this video, we are continuing that. We are laying a solid foundation for you to understand JavaScript as a language and TypeScript in React. Without wasting time, let's just jump straight into it. Let's just quickly declare const an object. This is an object, okay? Courses. This is how it looks like, okay? Got the name of the course. Okay, let me just say type. Okay, the name of the course is short for TypeScript. Okay, now that we've got an object courses, how do we access this value? Okay, through this key. Okay, remember we said an object has got some key value pairs. This is the key and this is the value. So how do we access this value through this key? Okay, this is what we can do. We can say, let's say we are displaying it. Okay, so we can say in JavaScript, let's say alert. Okay, now we want to alert this value, so we are going to say courses dot name. Okay, make this big, it's very important. Courses dot name, and then the program JavaScript will output type. Will output type as this string. Okay, so meaning that we use a dot method to access the value, okay, through the key, which is courses dot name. Inside this name there is the value. Okay, now as you can see, the object can be an array of object. Okay, when it's an array of object, it will mean that this is an array that you are used to. There is object 1 here, comma, there is object 2, comma, and maybe object 3. As you can see, this is an array of object. Inside here there is this key and the value. Maybe the name might be type here, and the name might be JavaScript here, and the name might be Google here. As you can see, this will be exactly in here. Okay, I hope you get the idea of an array of object. Then how do we access each of these keys through these values if it's an array? Okay, in JavaScript we've got the map method. Okay, so what can be this array name? Okay, let's say this is AR. Okay, this is AR equal to, okay, that means we are using this variable AR. It's this array of object. So we are going to use a map method. Okay, so this means that we are going to take the AR, okay, this AR, okay, this is this AR, we put a dot here, and then we map, meaning that mapping, treat it as like looping or iterating. Okay, we're going to iterate, okay, from this value to this one to this one. Okay, so map, it's a map function. Okay, this map function automatically it's going to receive as a parameter, it's going to receive, let's say, what was the, okay, let me just say an item. Okay, it's going to receive an item. Okay, what an item is, that means this item is going to be each object. Remember, this is an array of object, so it's like we are looping. We're going to get in this position and receive this object as an item. In the next iteration, we're going to receive this object as an item. Next iteration, this object as an item. Please bear with me. This is going to be very important in the future as we get into TypeScript in React. If it feels slow, bear with me. You will thank me later. So let's continue. Okay, and then what we can do, we can then use this item. Okay, we can then use this item. Let's say we are also alerting. Okay, let's say let me just do this. Okay, let's say we are alerting. If we are doing this, can't I write it this way as a proper function? Okay, as a proper function. My apologies about that. Okay, and then alerting, alert, and then instead of courses.name, now we are going to use item. Okay, remember, each item is each object here, and then we say item dot, okay, let's say dot name. Okay, and what else? I need to close this kind of braces. Okay, so what's going to happen here, using a map function, we are going to go to position 1. Position 1, we are going to get this type. Okay, meaning that, in fact, let me say, we are going to get a key of name and a value of type. Okay, meaning that when we say dot name here, in the first iteration, okay, in the first iteration, this will display type as a string. Okay, and then in the second iteration, okay, we are looping here on dot name, meaning that we will be in this object. We said this is JavaScript. On the second iteration, this is going to be JavaScript. Okay, and then on the third iteration, we are going to have Google. Remember, we said Google. Okay, so in this video we have just declared an object, okay, and then we have accessed the object. This is how you access the object. And also we have mapped or looped through or iterated through an array of object, and this is how we do that. Okay, now in the next video we are going to jump into the real thing, the fun stuff, because you have covered the previous video and this video where I was explaining to you in details the objects. Okay, now you are ready to grasp and understand the idea of TypeScript. What makes TypeScript difficult is to quickly learn it outside the knowledge of objects, JavaScript object, how they are structured and how you use them. In the previous video, I have shown you places where JavaScript objects appear, and also they appear in TypeScript, because when you are writing or when you are declaring an interface, it's an object. The structure is an object. When you are declaring a type, okay, the structure is an object. So if you understand objects in their essence and how they are structured, that means you are ready for video number 3. You are going to understand and master TypeScript. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. If you feel like this video has added and value into your overall understanding of TypeScript, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. See you on the next one. Hello there and welcome. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is a series of videos where we are dissecting and diving deep into TypeScript in React. What are types in TypeScript? The best way to approach this is to ask what problem is TypeScript trying to solve. So let's just dive deep into types. Okay, so let's talk about JavaScript or vanilla JavaScript. Okay, the major problem with JavaScript, it's pushing you to code like a blind man. Okay, it's pushing you to code like a blind man. Maybe it just gives you a stick, okay, to use, a stick to navigate through life. Okay, it's kinda working, but as you can see that if you are using a stick, okay, you can only go this far unless you are extremely gifted. Okay, then you can do everything that you want in the world, but this stick is not enough. As you know that people who are blind, they are using the stick to navigate the world. Thank God that they've got that capability. Okay, now TypeScript is solving that problem. TypeScript is giving you some sort of magical glasses. Okay, let's say this is JavaScript and this is TypeScript. TypeScript will offer, let's say, sophisticated technology, very cheap one and affordable, the glasses, okay, the spectacles, okay, for you to see the types. Okay, this is what you will see. Here you are looking for the types. Okay, you are searching, in fact, for the types. Okay, you are using this magnifying glass, you are searching for the types, but TypeScript come and say that, look, this is not what you have to search for. I can give you these glasses, these spectacles, and you will see the world differently. Let's put that into practicality. Okay, let's say, remember in this video I told you, or in this series I told you, that JavaScript objects are important. Now we are hitting that point home. Let's say you are receiving a JSON string from the API. Obviously you will have to convert the JSON string into a JSON object. Okay, now Now that the string is a JavaScript object, okay, now you will have to access it. If you want to know more about the structure of the object, please check the previous video. Let's say we received an object of courses, okay, which looks like this. We've got a course name, okay, the course name is JS, and that is it, okay. And then we can access this object, okay, this course, okay, through, this is JavaScript, through courses, using courses dot name, okay. Let's say the object that we have was a big object, okay. Let's say here, in terms of the keys, remember this is the key and this is the value. This object had a long list of keys, okay. Let's just write them here. It has got the name, comma, it has got duration, comma, it has got date, comma, it has got type, it has got faculty, it has got average mark, it has got grades, it has got simplicity, it has got properties, it has got days, it has got numbers. As you can see, these are just meaningless keys, but it's the keys anyway. You would get the name, the duration, and so forth, okay. Now, because of this object is simple, we know and we can memorize it that, okay, as soon as I convert this from the API and convert it to an object, I know I can access the course.name and I will get JS, okay. Now, what if you have a long list like this one, okay? This is what I used to do while I was coding PHP, okay. I will take my in PHP we call a structure like this one, like this object, an associative array, okay, associative array. So what I used to do, I used to copy, let's say I have created I have passed, let's say, some values or parameters as an associative array from one module to another. Let's say now I'm on module number 10. I want to use those that associative array with those key value pairs. This is what I used to do. I used to always keep a copy of that associative array. Remember that associative array has got the keys and values, okay. The reason why I'm copying this, it's simply because when I am inside another module and I want to access these, I need to some sort of memorize these. Obviously that's not practical unless you are a genius, you've got a, I'm not sure, graphic memory, okay. Now when I want to use these keys here, maybe I'm looping through them or I'm using them, okay, I will say course, okay, and then dot. Obviously I will have to scratch my head. Dot what? Dot duration? Is it dot photograph? Is it dot? You see, it's a problem. I forgot. It will mean I will have to use the stick, okay. I have to carry a copy of this associative array. Then from then I have to paste it in my code and I have to see, oh, okay, we've got face, we've got whatever, we've got whatever, and then I can say, in my case, I want courses dot face. As you can see that these keys that I've made example with here, they don't really make sense in the context of courses, but I did that deliberately because I wanted to show you that it's not easy to memorize all these keys. It will mean that you will need something that will help you to assist you. So in my case, even when I was learning JavaScript, I had to copy this from the API. Maybe I'm using Postman, get that response. I have to copy it to all the modules so that I can know that I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, because this is not easy to memorize. As you can see, there is some sort of redundancy here, or a hassle to get things through. Okay, meaning that with JavaScript, when you want to use your keys which are listed in your object, there is no hint. Okay, there is no type hinting. Okay, it will mean that you have to rely on your own brain or your own memory. Okay, you have to rely on your own memory. There is nothing that hints you. Hence I'm saying that is the stick method. You can like survive with it, okay, but it comes with a little bit of a hassle. Okay, this has got some challenges. I don't want to say this is bad, because it will feel like I'm undermining JavaScript, as if I'm saying TypeScript is better than JavaScript. It's not necessarily bad, because you can code in JavaScript, but it's prone to errors. Okay, for instance, what if somebody in this list, as you can see that dog is not part of this list, what if another developer comes on module number 103, they call the same API, and for some reason they want to access courses.dogs. Okay, JavaScript is not going to alert you, it's not going to tell you that this might give a problem because you are accessing a key that is not available. Then how am I going to know? Then ding ding ding, you will know it when you get there. You will like cross the bridge when you get there. Well, this is not the best way of thinking or the best approach when it comes to like proper or clean code or well-structured code, or as an advanced or senior developer. Okay, in the development community, we must learn to be accountable, meaning that we need to program in such a way that we are cautious. We know that we will account for the code that we have written. Imagine if the code has got an error, and then I say, well, what could I have done? Is JavaScript problems. I just typed a dog there and it didn't show me an error. That's not the right way of doing things. What's the solution? I think now you know. TypeScript. Okay, now we need to wear these spectacles so that we can see into the future. Isn't that interesting? Okay, now how TypeScript is going to solve this problem. TypeScript will say, let's introduce the idea of types. Every object, JavaScript object that you are going to work with, it must be accompanied by a type. Okay, oh yes, what is a type? Okay, a type is the shape of that object. It's more like a list of keys and their corresponding data type that you are going to use with this object. Okay, so TypeScript said, now we've got twins. Think about two things. Okay, number one, we've got the object. Number two, we've got the shape of an object. These go hand in hand together, like parallel. Okay, when you are passing data, when you are receiving data, when you're manipulating data, TypeScript is saying that, hey guys, we need to be clever. Okay, we need to always attach types to object. Okay, we need to attach the shape, of which the shape will give us the types. Okay, now how is this being accomplished? Then TypeScript said, let's introduce types. Okay, now let me declare a type. I'm going to call this type a course object, or no, let me call it a course shape. Okay, type course shape without this equal, sorry, course shape equal to open brackets, open curly braces. Okay, now we will list all of these. Okay, I'm not going to list all of them. We will list all of these with their corresponding what? With their corresponding data types. Okay, and for now I'm just going to put name only. Name is going to be a string. As you can see, guys, now we have assigned a shape to this object. So this shape will always be used when this object is going to be used. Whether we are going to be receiving this object, whether we will be passing it through parameters, whether we will be receiving it through props, as long as we've got this object, this corresponding type, which is course shape, must go hand in hand with it. Maybe somebody might ask why. Here is the reason why. Here is the reason why. So that if I am a new developer working for Microsoft or Google, they've got a very, very big platform or app or module on App Store that I have to maintain. Okay, now I'm using an object that has got a list of apps, okay, or an array of a data that has got some information about apps. Okay, now I don't know which data can I access if I'm using JavaScript, because I'm using the stick method. Okay, I'm using the stick method. Okay, now TypeScript introduces the spectacle method. Now when you are using TypeScript, as much as you have queried the courses or that list of apps, okay, when you're using that list of apps, let me just for in case use the same courses here so that we can contrast this. Okay, even though we are working on Google, let's say Google, they've got courses. Okay, or let me say I'm working for Udemy. Okay, now I'm working with Udemy. I'm dealing with a list of courses. I'm new, it's my first day. Okay, if we are using TypeScript, I'm going to get that courses. If this courses has been properly typed, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to type dot on my code editor. Okay, what TypeScript will do, it will give me a list of all the possibilities. All of this, it will give me this list. It will tell me you can get a name, you can get a duration, you can get subject, you can get the lecture, you can get whatever. So as a developer, at least now I've got options to choose from. This is guaranteed that there won't be the right runtime error. There might be a logical error because of entirely my fault as a developer. I chose the wrong thing. There's accountability. It's my fault. I chose the wrong key. But when it comes to JavaScript, I can just type there .dogs, the dogs, which is a key that is not there, and JavaScript is not going to tell me. Okay, so that means here there is 0 errors in a true sense of the word. Why? Because the program will run, but because you have chose duration instead of name, it will just display the wrong information, which is a logical error. Okay, it's a logical error, not a syntax or other errors which are fatal errors. And the logical error, we will know that this is the developer's fault. But here the developer might say, JavaScript could have warned me about such things. Okay, so this is the problem that TypeScript is trying to solve. Okay, meaning that you can now easily choose from this list, and also you can see what is available based on the module. If the code has been written clean, if the module is let's say the function that you are inside in that make use of these courses, the function name, it's get course name, it will mean that you will know that this function must return courses dot, and you check from your list. If you see name there, you can just say course name. What does this mean? It means that I can just be plugged into any biggest tech companies, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Udemy, or whatever company, even Google, Facebook, Apple, whatever. As long as they are using TypeScript, they have got clean code, and they've got proper naming variable convention, or proper naming variable that makes it easier for me to understand. Even if there is no assistant, somebody to show me how things work, I can be able to get things right. I hope you see and understand what problem is TypeScript trying to solve, and that is it. So it's like when you are using JavaScript, you are using the stick. Okay, you are using the stick. Obviously you can get where you are going, but you are using the stick with your eyes closed. But TypeScript brings a certain sophisticated technology which is cheaper, accessible. You just wear these spectacles, all of a sudden you just see a list like a list of types to choose from. It helps you as a developer. Okay, TypeScript, it's a pain when you are starting. That I understand. If you are experiencing that, it's a problem that we all experience. You get better with time. Okay, but think of it this way: it's bitter in the mouth but sweeter in the belly. Remember, some other things, just like a pill, it's not designed for your taste buds. It's designed for your immune system, for your own health. So don't expect it to be sweeter in your mouth, but in your belly it's going to be sweeter, because the nutrients will dissolve and they will serve the purpose, okay, to help your immune system or to fight a certain virus. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. If you feel like this is adding an value into your overall understanding of TypeScript, please do me a favor and just hit that subscribe button. See you on the next one. Guys, what's up and welcome. This is Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Code Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. We are continuing with our TypeScript course. Now we have opened Visual Studio Code. Let's just jump straight into it. This is just a Next.js application. Even if you can run a pure React application, everything will function well. Let me just show you what I've already done. As you can see, I've just have a sample comp here. This is a page, some sort of a parent component. As you can see, it's consuming sample comp, and this is sample comp, and it's rendering sample comp, this text. Now let's continue. Let's say inside this sample comp, we don't want to display this string, but we want to display something that has been passed from the parent component. So meaning that the parent component need to pass a string value to this component, and the sample component need to render that value. Can you guess how are we going to do that? Of course, we are going to use props. So what we can do, we can receive a prop here. Let's say the prop will be title. Okay, this is the prop that we are receiving. As you can see, now we've got a problem. Title implicitly has an any type. This is TypeScript telling us that this variable doesn't have a type. Okay, TypeScript is different from JavaScript. It's catching the errors as we code. How can we solve this? We need to give a type of string to this title. As you can see, now in this component, TypeScript is happy, but we have a problem. As you can see, our page TSX, which is the parent component, is complaining. Let's just jump there and see what is the problem. Okay, type empty object is not assignable to a type string. This is TypeScript in action. TypeScript is telling us we are receiving a prop which is a string, and now we are passing an empty object. The reason why you are passing it says we are passing an empty object is simply because we didn't pass any prop. Obviously, you know, in React this is how we pass props. Title, okay, sorry, okay, as you can see, title string is not assigned to a type of string. Also, this is TypeScript telling us that we need to fix our code. So let's just go back here, and then what we can do, we can just open and close curly braces here, and then from there we can type this like this, okay, title, and then say this is going to be a string. Okay, as you can see, now TypeScript is happy with this component, a sample component, which is the child component, and the parent component. We have just passed an empty string. Okay, now in terms of the output, there is no difference because we didn't render what we are receiving. So let's just recap. We are receiving a prop title, but we are not using it here. Okay, so let's change this to say rendered title, and then we display the prop that we have received. Okay, to display the title that we have received. Okay, so let's pass the title type script. Let's save, let's go back here, and then as you can see, render title TypeScript. So what we have done so far, we have passed a prop which is a type of string, and then we are rendering it, we are receiving it here as a prop, and we are typing it, telling TypeScript that this is a string, and then we can render that string. Let's just create a problem before we end the video to see. Let's say here inside the title we are rendering a number instead of a string. Okay, let's do it like this, and then let's render 45. As you can see, TypeScript is telling us that type number is not assignable to a type string. Why this is important? If this was JavaScript, this was going to be okay. This was going to give a problem when we are actually running the code. The main purpose and the main aim for this TypeScript series is to help you to fall in love with TypeScript. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. See you on the next one. Hi guys, what's up and welcome. This is Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Code Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. We are continuing with our TypeScript course. Now we have opened Visual Studio Code. Let's just jump straight into it. This is just a Next.js application. Even if you can run a pure React application, everything will function well. Let me just show you what I've already done. As you can see, I've just have a sample comp here. This is a page, some sort of a parent component. As you can see, it's consuming sample comp, and this is sample comp, and it's rendering sample comp, this text. Now let's continue. Let's say inside this sample comp we don't want to display this string, but we want to display something that has been passed from the parent component. So meaning that the parent component need to pass a string value to this component, and the sample component need to render that value. Can you guess how are we going to do that? Of course, we are going to use props. So what we can do, we can receive a prop here. Let's say the prop will be title. Okay, this is the prop that we are receiving. As you can see, now we've got a problem. Title implicitly has an any type. This is TypeScript telling us that this variable doesn't have a type. Okay, TypeScript is different from JavaScript. It's catching the errors as we code. how can we solve this? We need to give a type of string to this title. As you can see, now in this component, TypeScript is happy, but we have a problem. As you can see, our page TSX, which is the parent component, is complaining. Let's just jump there and see what is the problem. Okay, type empty object is not assignable to a type string. This is TypeScript in action. TypeScript is telling us we are receiving a prop which is a string, and now we are passing an empty object. The reason why you are passing it says we are passing an empty object is simply because we didn't pass any prop. Obviously, you know, in React this is how we pass props. Title, okay, sorry. Okay, as you can see, title string is not assigned to a type of string. Also, this is TypeScript telling us that we need to fix our code. So let's just go back here, and then what we can do, we can just open and close curly braces here, and then from there we can type this like this. Okay, title, and then say this is going to be a string. Okay, as you can see, now TypeScript is happy with this component, a sample component, which is the child component, and the parent component. We have just passed an empty string. Okay, now in terms of the output, there is no difference because we didn't render what we are receiving. So let's just recap. We are receiving a prop title, but we are not using it here. Okay, so let's change this to say rendered title, and then we display the prop that we have received. Okay, to display the title that we have received. Okay, so let's pass the title type script. Let's save. Let's go back here, and then as you can see, render title TypeScript. So what we have done so far, we have passed a prop which is a type of string, and then we are rendering it, we are receiving it here as a prop, and we are typing it, telling TypeScript that this is a string, and then we can render that string. Let's just create a problem before we end the video to see. Let's say here inside the title we are rendering a number instead of a string. Okay, let's do it like this, and then let's render 45. As you can see, TypeScript is telling us that type number is not assignable to a type string. Why this is important? If this was JavaScript, this was going to be okay. This was going to give a problem when we are actually running the code. The main purpose and the main aim for this TypeScript series is to help you to fall in love with TypeScript. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. See you on the next one. Hey, what's up and welcome. I am Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. Let's continue with our TypeScript course. As you can see in the previous video, we were typing simple props. What do I mean by that? This is title and it's just a string, and this is age and it's just a number. What if we want to pass an array of ages? Okay, which are the ages? As you can see, TypeScript is telling us that we are having a problem. Type array is not assigned to a type number, which this is an empty array. Okay, it's okay and it's fine because this is an array of numbers. When we look here, okay, we are receiving only a number, which becomes a problem. So how do we type an array of numbers? This is how we do it. You just put the square brackets here and click save. As you can see, TypeScript doesn't give us a problem because now TypeScript understands this is an array of numbers. This doesn't end here. There is also another option, but it's a bit strict, and also it works on a sequence. So the sequencing is very important. Let's just check here. What if we were receiving a number and a string here, which is Matthew? Okay, as you can see, TypeScript is telling us that we are having a problem. Why? Because this is a number, this is a string, and this is a number. How do we solve this problem? Okay, let's go back. And then we need to change this, because now this is not only an array of numbers, but it's an array of a mix of types. Okay, so how do we show that mix of types? Then we will take, let's just remove this number and just put an empty array, or an empty array of types. Okay, as you can see, the problem has not been solved. Let's just specify that we want a number. Still, it's not been solved. Let's say in the middle we have a string, and in the end we have another number. We save. As you can see, this way of declaring string, it's more strict and it's more specific. The sequence is important. As you can see, it some sort of confirms, or it some sort of assures that we have a number, okay, in the first position, or in position 0, and in position 1 we have a string, and in position 2 we have a number. As you can see here, that's why we don't have an error. Number, string, and an array. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. Please don't forget to subscribe to support the channel. See you on the next one. Hey, what's up and welcome. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. In this video, we are continuing with the TypeScript course. In the previous video, we just typed a simple array. It was a number, a string, and a number. As you can see, this is the corresponding type. But what if we want to type an array of object? How can we do that? Then it means that here we will have an object. Let's say the object has got the name, okay, and the name is Matthew, and it has got the age, the key, which is an age, and the value is, let's say, 50. Okay, as you can see, TypeScript is giving us some problems, because indeed we have a problem. This is an array and an array of an object. Let's just make two objects. Okay, this is object 1 in an array, and this is object 2. Now let's go back here. As you can see, we have a problem because this is not an array of object. So how can we solve this problem? Okay, first thing that we have to do, let's just quickly copy this structure. My apologies about that. Let's just copy this structure and then come here. Let's create a new type. Let's say type object. Okay, which is, this is the object. Let's say object prop, and then from then is equal to, then we put this as it is. Let's just delete these curly braces, and then we're just going to change this string into a data type string. Okay, into a type string, and this to number. So what we have just did, we have just isolated the object, the type of an object, only an object, and we have given it a name of object prop, which is, this is a type. So this type defines each object. Now what we need to do, the age is defined by an array of object. Do you have an idea as to how can we solve this problem? Obviously I knew you have one. What we can do, we can just say age is a type of object prop, okay, but not just object prop, but an array of object prop. Okay, as you can see, TypeScript doesn't solve our issues only on one place. By TypeScript is concerned about the consistency in the whole code base. As you can see, if now you've got an array here and previously you've just assigned age as it is, this is not how you use an array. So this is the power of TypeScript. You are not going to ship errors into production, but you are going to fix them in development. Then this means that if this is not how you use an array, you know that when you want to use an array, you always put this curly braces, and first you have to tell the array that which position do you want in an array. Let's say you want position 0, but still TypeScript is not happy with that, because inside this there is an object, okay, with a key and a value. So it's very important if we can use the dot method. This is the power of TypeScript. TypeScript is giving us options to choose. We can't ignore age and name and just want ID. TypeScript is going to tell us ID is not found in this, okay, object shape. But if maybe we can quickly add it, obviously it will mean that we need to also go to this page and add that. Okay, so let's just remove it and use what is already here, which is we want the name here, and then we can save, and that is it. We don't have errors. I hope you are finding this interesting, where we are getting into a journey where we are removing TypeScript squiggly line one by one. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel. If you feel like this is adding value into your overall understanding of TypeScript, please do me a favor and support the channel and hit that subscribe button. See you on the next one. Hey, what's up and welcome. I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. We are continuing with the TypeScript course. In the previous video, we have received a prop age as an array of object. Let's set up this code in such a way that we receive children, and then we see how do we type that. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to remove all of these. Obviously TypeScript will complain that is not much of a problem. We need also to remove these, and then these will complain, and then we remove these. And then, as you can see, our code is back to where we were. It's green here, and then we are good to go. Okay, so this is the actual component, and this is the parent. Okay, so what we want to do, as you can see, this one, it's a self-closing tag. You put a self-closing tag when you know that you don't pass children to this component. So let's just talk about or let's just put things into perspective. We've got this page as a consuming component, as a parent component, and it has got this child. Okay, so in this child we want to pass children, meaning that we have to convert this, okay, or we have to change this from a self-closing tag, okay, to be a tag like this one. Okay, let's just see person check if someone has no corresponding closing tag. Okay, so as you can see now, it's not a self-closing tag, which is it is ready to receive children. Okay, so when you are passing children, how do you receive those children as a prop? So let's go to the child component. This is a child component. Okay, so how do we get this child component ready to receive children? Okay, this is how we are going to do it. Okay, so as you can see, TypeScript is complaining that binding element children implicitly has an any type. You know by now that TypeScript doesn't want us to have any types, meaning that everything must be properly typed. This is a problem. So it will mean that we need to assign a type. So how do we assign a type on this? Okay, the type of children is a react dot react node. My apologies about that black screen. Dot react node. Okay, dot react node. Okay, obviously we need to do it this way. My apologies about that. Let me just quickly fix it. Okay, then we need to put curly brackets, okay, curly braces. So as you can see, we are receiving children, okay, and we are typing children to react dot node. So this this component is ready to receive children. Okay, remember, we don't just receive those children, we need to render the children. So here we need to put square braces, curly braces, and then from then we need to render the prop, which is children. Okay, as you can see, TypeScript is happy here. We have typed the children. Then now let's go to the parent component. Okay, as you can see, now TypeScript is telling us that children is missing in type, which is empty object, because we didn't pass the children here. So what we are going to do, we are going to have an h1 tag, and then we are going to say I am a child. Okay, as you can see, now TypeScript is happy. That means we have typed these children. So we are passing these children to this component, and then from then we are rendering these children, let me just say so. Okay, so what we are going to do here, I'm just going to type a message which is out, let me say out, or not a child. Okay, let me just type that, not a child, so that when we are running this code, we can see that this part means that it's being displayed let's say locally in this component, not a child. But anything that comes after not a child, let me also put okay, this is not gonna, let me just put these two dashes here, so that we can separate between what has been some sort of rendered in this component and what has been received as a child, as you can see. Then now let's check. It looks like my server is not running, or I'm not in the right place. As you can see, not a child, this part, it's not a child, and this part is saying I am a child. Okay, so as you can see, we have typed the children, like props, as children. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. If you feel like this video is helping you into your overall understanding of TypeScript, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, for me, see you on the next one. Hey, what's up and welcome. Matthew here, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. Let's continue with our TypeScript course. In this video, we are going to take a look at union types in React. Now, there are cases whereby there are many possibilities, not only one type. Up to this far, we've been dealing with one type, okay, meaning that it's either going to be a string or an array of object, but we never dealt with the situation whereby we are not sure which type is it going to be. If you want an example, let's just jump straight into it. Let's say on this page, okay, on our main page, we need, when it's loading, okay, it needs to fetch some data from the API, and then after that it needs to set that data. Let's say we are not sure the type of the data, so meaning that it's either it's the shape that we want, or the structure that we want, or it can be none. As you can see, maybe in case of there's an error while fetching data from the API, let's say the internet just cuts off, it might return null. But if the internet connection has been successful, it might give us the data that we want. So as you can see that there are two possibilities, the data that we want or null. So there are two options, and in solving that problem we are going to use union type. So let's just quickly create some sort of a fake way or some sort of a sample of a data fetching, even if we are not going to fetch the data, but we're just going to use a React hook which is use effect. Okay, so you use this use effect whenever you want to some sort of simulate a form load event. What do I mean by a form load event? When your screen or with the page is first rendered, okay, meaning that when it loads, okay, as you know that when the form or when the page load, some cases you need to fetch data from the database and look through it and then display, so that when the page loads, it's populated with the data. So you will use the use effect and you will pass this empty array so that it can act as a form load, meaning that when this page loads for the first time. So that means we need to import this use effect from React. Yes, okay, so what is the problem now? It's called in a function page. Okay, this just means we need to put a capital letter here. Okay, and that's about it. So as you can see, when this page loads, we can put all the information for fetching, sort of all the code that is needed for fetching data here. Okay, let's assume that this function fetch data is going to fetch data. So let's just declare this function, let's say fetch data. Okay, fetch data. Let's assume that this function is going to fetch data from the API, and then let's call it here. Okay, let's call the function here. So meaning that when this page loads, this code is going to be executed once at the first when it's loaded, and then this function is going to be called, which is called fetch data, and then it's going to fetch data from the API. It might get the data that we want, it might return null. When it has got the data that we want, what we need to do in order to access the data that we have received, we must use another hook, which is use state. Okay, then let's say const, okay, let's say data, that means from the API, and then set data is equal to use state. Okay, let's import this hook. Okay, use state. So the use state cannot be called. Okay, just made a mistake here. Use state is supposed to be called here. Okay, so now this means that when we are setting, okay, that means we can set the data that we got from the API. For now, let's set it to null. Okay, assuming that when we were fetching this data here from the API, something happened, meaning that we got null. Let's see what TypeScript is complaining about. Argument of type null is not assignable to a parameter of type. Okay, meaning that this type, okay, it's a data type for the set data. Okay, meaning that, sorry, for the use state. Okay, that's the type for the use state. So what we need to do, we need, for instance, let's say when we are receiving the data from this, okay, once we say set data, it means that we are taking this null and we are assigning this null to this variable. Okay, let me just be slow a little bit so that I can give you the context of what's going on. We are declaring a variable here, just a container to store data, but we are using a hook. So meaning that this use state hook, what it does, it declares two variables at the same time. It declares a variable data and a function set data. Whenever you use this function set data, you put whatever you want here. For instance, let's say we can put a string. Okay, this string is going to be assigned automatically to this variable. Okay, let me display that here. Okay, let me just I am a child, let me just display that here. We are going to display the data that has been set here. We are going to display it here. So I hope you get the idea of data and set data. Data is just a normal variable. Set data is a function that when you've used it and you pass anything, it will be inside here. And then we are using this hook to achieve that. We are loading when the page first load, and then we are fetching data from the API, and we have received this data. Now this data, we have received it as null. Okay, now obviously this is TypeScript. Obviously we are asking ourselves, if we are using a variable here, what is the data type of that variable? As you can see, at this point in time, it's undefined because we didn't set. Okay, how does this hook work? Sometimes when you pass something which is a string, TypeScript will infer the type, meaning that it will pick up from what you have put inside and it will declare this as a string. As you can see, what if maybe we can put an array here? Okay, as you can see now, TypeScript have noticed that this is an array, but it's an array of never. Well, it's tolerant, it accepts us, but we don't want to use an array of never. Okay, so now let's check on this error. How does it change as we change the information that we put here? Argument of type null is not assignable to a parameter of type. Please ignore this for now. Okay, let me say, please ignore this part for now, the set state whatever, but just look at this never. If we make this a string, let's look what is inside that part where there was never. Argument of type null is not assignable to a parameter of type. Can you see that now there is a string? So meaning that there is a relationship between this part and this part as a set function. In a way, there must be some sort of consistency in terms of types. I hope you get that. Let's go back to the problem that we had. When we fetch data from the API, maybe the internet might just get stuck or get lost. We will return null. So meaning that we might have an object that we want to a type, okay, that we want to receive, okay, which is the type that we want to receive. It's a JSON object in this form. Let's say received data. Okay, we are just fetching the employee name. Let me just say emp name. We are just fetching emp name as a string, or emp ID and employee ID and emp ID, and that is all. Let me just make it a number. Okay, and that is it. As you can see, there are two possibilities. We can get this type or this shape, okay, of data from the API, but if there is a problem because we are not in control of the internet connection, maybe sometimes the user might switch off the internet deliberately, meaning that the fetch function will return null. Okay, meaning that we cannot predict the data type beforehand. It's like it will depend. We will see it in the future. Let me put it that way. So let's first take the data which is within the possibilities. Okay, that means we can first type this. Okay, we can first type this use state like this. Okay, what do we mean? We are saying that we are expecting this type. Okay, obviously if we are expecting this type, let's see what TypeScript is complaining. TypeScript is saying obviously null doesn't conform to receive data. Okay, automatically it put undefined there. That's not what we want. As we want this data, okay, the structure of this to be the correct thing that we have received from the API, or there is a possibility that it can be null or undefined. Okay, For now, let's just use null, or in fact undefined is the the ideal one, okay, the ideal type, okay. And then we can say undefined. Okay, what is this? What have we done here? We have used a union type to solve the problem because we don't know the value or the type beforehand. It will depend on the execution of the API, the function that fetches data from the API. So I mean that it might return undefined or it might return the structure that we want. Okay, so let's explore all the possibilities. Okay, so it means that here we can set this to undefined. As you can see, now TypeScript is happy with this. TypeScript is saying, I understand that you can set this data using this function setData to this structure, or it can be undefined. How does it know that? It knows that using this. So this is a union type. Okay, then the other thing, let's just check here. Okay, obviously we had data here. Okay, now it's telling us that, okay, remember, since there are two possibilities, now we are displaying data here as if we know that is going to be something, of which that's a problem first. Okay, we don't know if it's going to be null or it's not going to be null. Okay, but that's not much of a problem. But now let's read what it says. Type receive data or undefined is not assignable to a React node. This means that if we are going to receive this object, this is an object. This is not how you access an object. Okay, how do you access an object? In that object that is data, you have to say dot. It's either you display an employee name or an employee ID. Okay, my Visual Studio Code is very smart. It has helped me on putting this question mark. Let's delete it and see what will happen. This is telling us that the data that you are receiving, remember, it can be undefined. Is displaying an undefined or displaying undefined to the user the right thing to do? No, it's not the right thing to do. So by putting this question mark, you are saying, from these two possibilities of types, in case we fall into undefined, this question mark will just render an empty string. This question mark will help this. Let's say it will nullify this, let me just say, or it will just render an empty string. It's like destroys everything and put an empty string there because we have received undefined. Okay, in case we receive the data that we want which is this structure, okay, just get the employee name and that's it. So this is the perfect example of using a union type. As you can see in this video, to be honest, we have tackled two things at the same time. Automatically I have shown you how to type the use state hook, which, to be honest, in my plan I thought I was going to do a separate video to show you how to type only the use state, but the use state, it was a perfect scenario for showing you the union type, hence I have combined it. So I think I owe you some sort of a revision in a way, just to give you clarity on what is going on, since I feel like I have loaded a lot of things in this code. Okay, so let's just go back. When we are fetching data from the API, this is what we can receive. Let me type it. Okay, we can receive undefined, which is this one, or we can receive the data that we want. Which data that we want? Let's quickly set it here. Okay, let's say we have received Matthew from the API and the ID number, it's 1988, and this is the ID number. Okay, do you see that we've got two possibilities of types that we can receive, and TypeScript is not complaining. As you can see, in the same set data, which is when we set data, this data type goes to this variable. excuse me, this data type goes to this variable. Okay, this is a type, and then if not this one, then it's going to be this one. So observe that there are two possibilities, hence union type. This, the pipe character, meaning that, or this one. I hope that one is clear. So we've got two options. Okay, and then we are coming to set state. A use state, it's a hook. Okay, it's a React hook. Okay, meaning that it has got two variables, declaring two variables at the same time, a variable to holding data and a function to save data into this variable. So whatever that we catch here from the API, we will save it here through this function. As you can see, it's either we're saving undefined or we are saving data, and that's all. Now let's go to the practicality. Let's say we have fetched the data from the API and then we have received undefined, so meaning that we have to comment this one and receive this possibility, which is undefined. Now let's go and check how it looks like. Okay, you are importing a component that uses a use state, so it will work. Okay, that's not a problem. This is Next.js telling us that we need to convert this into a client component, which is Next.js has got a server-side rendering and a client-side rendering. So let's say use client, because we are using React, and also we are using use state, which is available when you are using use client. Okay, as you can see, we've got not a children. Why have we fetched something and we're not displaying it? The problem, whatever that we were displaying, it's undefined. So this question mark has helped us to say that in case it's undefined, render an empty string. Let's remove this question mark and see. If we were using JavaScript, after removing this question mark, the error that we get here, we were going to only see it in production, which is wrong. Okay, according to what can I say, according to pure JavaScript, meaning that we were going to catch this error here. But as you can see, TypeScript is smart. It's telling us that this is a problem because this might be null. Okay, so hence we are putting the question mark. In case it's null, render an empty string. So the only possibility that we have now is when we have received the data. We can only show that when we comment this one and uncomment this one. And remember, what are the intentions of the code when we have received data is to display the employee name. Let's see if we can see the employee name here. Okay, let me just check or refresh. As you can see, here is Matthew. Okay, maybe you might ask why there was a delay. Okay, so this acts as fetching data, or this use effect runs whenever the page is first being rendered. Okay, so it runs there, so that's why there was some sort of a small delay. Okay, it runs before the page has been rendered, and then when it's done running, and then it will display it there. Let's just confirm if for real we are getting the data that we want. This one, let's just say here, say dot employee ID. As you can see, now it's rendering the employee ID. I'm Matthew Singati, the designer and developer. Please support my channel Coded Design by just like the video, commenting, or please do me a favor and subscribe. Thank you so much. See you on the next one. I hope you are learning something. Marhaba, welcome. I'm Matthew Singati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. Up to this far, we have been typing use state and simple array of objects and array and even simple data types or simple variables. What if we want to type a function? Let's say on the parent component, we want to pass a function so that it can be executed inside a child component. Let's just make an example. We are here on page component, which is the parent, and this is the child component, sample component. We want to pass a function as a prop so that it can be executed here on the children. So how can we do that? Okay, first of all, we need to declare the function that we want to execute. Okay, let's say const child function, meaning that this function is going to be executed by a child component. Okay, let's just see. This file was never used. Okay, let's just copy this, make sure undo, copy with this also. My apologies about that. Just make sure this is here. Okay, and then when this function is executed, we will just display function executed. Function executed. Let me just try to call this function to see what will happen, even if I'm calling this function. Okay, const. Okay, const this. Okay, my apologies about that. Okay, here is a proper way of defining a function. Okay, so const child function. This is the child function, and here I'm calling it. This is the wrong way because we don't want to call this function here on the parent. As you can see, nothing is being alerted, no alert box. Okay, because we don't want to call this function here. Let's say we were calling it here on the parent. Let's see what will happen. As you can see, function executed. Okay, this is not what we want to do, meaning that we have to remove this from here. We want to pass this function down, pass it as a prop so that it can be executed inside a child component. So let's quickly do that. And then we're going to come here. Then we're going to say child, let's say callback. Okay, we are going to call this callback, and then we pass this function. Okay, so that means we are passing this function as it is so that it can be executed inside a children. Okay, here inside a child. Now let's go to the child component and receive this function and type it. Okay, so now we are here inside a child. Okay, we want to receive this function and we need to type it. Now let's type it. We have called this function callback, and then now we need to type it. Okay, let's go back to the parent. Okay, and also let's go back to the actual function. Okay, where is it? Here is the function. Okay, does the function returns something? No, it returns nothing, but it just displays something. Okay, meaning that it's not returning, meaning that the return type of this function is void. Then that is sufficient for us to type this function. This is how you type a function. You open and close curly braces and put this equal sign and this arrow, and you need to specify the data type. Okay, the return type, of which the return type is void, and that is it, meaning that we have passed this function, we have passed this function from the parent to a child, and we have assigned a type from this a type on this function. Okay, and the type is void because it's returning nothing. Okay, and then from then we need to execute this function. Okay, so after receiving it, we need to take this callback function and execute it inside a child. Okay, let's go and check it. As you can see, now it's executing, but it's executing inside a child. We have accomplished what we wanted to do, but there is no transparency between me and you as the student. What do I mean by that? We are not sure if the alert box is the one from the previous execution, which is the one which was from the page. We are not sure about that, or it's this one. Even if I can save it again and it reruns, obviously it displays, but there is no guaranteed in a way. We cannot be sure. So now that we have done with step 1, we have typed a function. We need to push this further. But before we push this further, let's hit the point home. This is how you type a function, okay? And then this is the return type, and that's all. Now we want to prove. Now let's change the scenario or modify it. Let's make this function to receive a message from the calling component. And then we are going to know if is it being called from the parent or it's being called from the child component. Then we are going to be sure, both me and you, that we are doing the right thing. So this function will receive a string. Okay, let's say the name of the string is going to be a calling component. Calling component name as a string. You are going to receive this string, and then you are going to display alert the string that you have received. We are getting to section 2 of this video, where we are typing a function that receives a parameter. As you can see, now our function from the parent component, it receives a parameter. That parameter is calling component name. This is the component name, the calling one. It's either going to be the parent or it's going to be the child. It's going to be a type of a string. This is going to help us to distinguish which is the calling component. And then now we alert the calling component name, as you can see. So that means we have modified our function. TypeScript is complaining, okay? TypeScript is complaining about what? About here, what it says, okay? Type calling component, which is a parameter void, is not assignable to a type of. That's not much of a problem, because in this function, okay, as we are passing it to the child, okay, as you can see here, it doesn't receive anything, okay, meaning that here it must receive something, okay. Also, let's call this a calling component, and let's type it. Now this is the callback function. This is the right way of typing it. We are specifying that it receives a parameter of string, okay, or an argument, okay, an argument which is going to be a string. And then what we are going to do now, whenever we call it, because it's complaining, it's expecting one argument, okay, whenever we are calling it, we need to give it an argument, and that argument, it will be the message, okay, or let's just say for now the calling component. What is the calling component? Here, let me just say called by a child component. Now suppose we display this message, because it's only the child that is calling this function using this callback, that because it receives this function as this callback variable, and then here it executes it. So let's go back. As you can see, function executed. This is a problem. Maybe it's from the previous execution. Let's just click. As you can see, now it's starting to execute. Let's just refresh it. Okay, it's starting to execute the most recent changes. called by a child component. I'm happy with this, but let's change it now. Let's comment the child component. Let's comment the child component. As you can see, the child component executes this function using the callback variable because it receives it as a callback. Now let's save this. As you can see, no matter how much we can refresh, there's nothing happening. Now let's go to the parent component and call this function. Okay, where is it? What's the name of that function? Let's call this child function, okay, inside the parent, and we pass a different string. And then let me just say parent is calling, okay, which is the parent is the one that is calling this function. Now let's go back and see parent is calling. Guys, I hope I have made it clear to you on I hope I have given a clear explanation on how to type a function and also how to type a function that receives an argument, okay, or that passes parameters. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. Please don't forget to support the channel and just hit the like button or the subscribe button, or just shoot a comment below if you like this type of a content. See you on the next one.